What's up, y'all? It's your girl Brittany back with another video. I created this page for those that know things, feel that they feel things, and see that they see things and are learning to trust in those things. So on this page, we get to allow life to unfold with spiritual eyes. So let's get into it. Today I had a couple of thoughts about purpose and a couple of other things, and so I'm just gonna let it flow. I was thinking about, you know, how sometimes purpose can be found in the mundane, right? Even though there's a duality to this thing, right? Like, on one side, there's part of life where it's just mundane. It's just this: we wake up, we go to work, we take care of kids, we do fun stuff on the weekend. We try to eat healthy. We try to, do these things, and it's just the way that it's just mundane. You just do it, and it's just a routine, and it's just, it's just what it is, right? But then you do see also and are aware of the beauty in the mundane, right? Because it is the fact that you get to go to this job and you get to make the money that you get to make, and that you have these kids that you love, that love you unconditionally, that you have, peace, in your life, and that you have a living system that works for you, and you just flow with it, even if it is boring, and boring is peace, you know what I'm saying? And so there's so much abundance within the mundane, and you understand that. But then there's this part of you that like burns for greater, like, that there's more out there. You can't settle, you know what I'm saying? And not saying that you would do anything to take away the mundane or anything like that. It's not that at all, but it's more of just knowing that, like, you can accomplish great things. Like, you have this inner knowing, you have this pull towards doing something great, and you don't know where it comes from, you don't know why, it's just there, you know what I'm saying? And this thing won't allow you to not acknowledge the beauty in the mundane, right? And part of that comes from there, but then this side of you that won't settle also does acknowledge that this is just mundane, you know what I mean? And so we can we can create something different, we can create something new, we can build a better world, we can, whatever that pool is taking you towards, and sometimes you really don't know what that is. And so it gets frustrating at times because it's a knowing, and when it's a knowing but the physical doesn't quite match it, it can bring about some feelings. It can bring about feelings of doubt as to whether this knowing is true, or it can bring about feelings of, like, bringing you closer to it, knowing that it's real and knowing that you are going to see it. And that's the battle there. Which side are you going to believe in? Because if you have this side, if you have that knowing, and then it gives you a feeling, right? And that feeling says, I know this is right about me. And you get frustrated because you don't have all of the directions. You don't know, there's not a clear pathway. And so that's where the frustration comes from, because what am I doing, even though I feel that I know this thing, and sometimes I know I'm going to see it, and I know I'm going to bear fruits from this thing that I don't even know what I'm doing. And then other times there's this part of you that, isn't sure about it, because the reality gets to you, the life, the bills, all these things, and then you have to make sure that you are participating in the mundane, like, you have to make sure that you're just active in that. You can't just leave it all the way alone and then, do this thing. You do have to actively participate in the mundane too. So it's a balance, and so when you get frustrated with that, with purpose and all these things, sometimes for me, I feel like it's good for me to settle into the mundane a little bit, you know what I'm saying? And find abundance in the mundane. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's nice to go back down and find things that, you know, are that make you that give you that feeling and knowing that even without that, like this life is still good enough. You know what I'm saying? This life is still good. Like there's still beautiful things in it. It's still magical. It's still all of those things, right? So once you've done that, you know, then you kind of lean back towards that knowing, and then you're able to kind of sit in it a little bit longer. And what I think goes on there in those moments when you have there your knowing is on fire, and you're following maybe step one because that's all you have, and you've just been following step one for so long that you're just like, I don't know if this is even real or not, you know? And then you have to fall back into the mundane. You have to, you know, melt back into life a little bit and allow it to help you find the abundance in it. And sometimes you go through the processes where you're dealing with, you know, overthinking and all of these things, right? But there's a method to the madness, I believe, because there's a shedding, and then there's a clearing, and then there's a opening of understanding, and then there's another push, right? There's another effort, there's another layer of you that you just shed off in order to come out and know your purpose a little bit more and become closer to your purpose. So when you get frustrated about it, just think about it like that. That's what works for me sometimes, you know, when I find myself getting frustrated, you know, because we know that reality takes a while to catch up, you know, even though you might have been at it for a couple months, a couple weeks, whatever, you know, everything is just in divine timing. And so the thing that keeps you going, and I know for me this is something that keeps me going, is knowing that I know. Like knowing that I had my awakening in September, like knowing what I felt, knowing how I want to make others feel that way, knowing how this thing is real. Like it's really real because I reached it, you know, in my own way. Like it's the most beautiful thing. You have a desire to share it, and so that's good. That's one good enough reason right there to know that the knowing is real, because it's built off of like authentic like desire to assist, you know, authentic desire to like build and grow. You don't know what yet in because you're only on step one and you're waiting, like you're eagerly waiting for step two. But while you're in step one, there's these processes that you have to go through, you know, these ups and downs, these inputs and these outputs, these calms and these highs, you know what I'm saying? It's just a whole process, but it's all on purpose. It's all in an effort to get you where you need to be at. And so that's how I like to think about it. And then when I come up out of that, I'm able to push. I'm able to, you know, even have my moments where I might not be that consistent in it at all. I might, you know, do one thing that I, you know, am that comes from this knowing, right? I might do one thing one week, and then 2 weeks I don't do anything. You know, I melt back into the mundane or whatever, and because I might be overthinking. And then the next week I might, you know, I might do three things, or, you know, the week after I might do five, and then the week after I might do nothing. You know, I might go a couple weeks without doing, you know, but the main thing is that it's still getting done, you know, because it's all a process. And understanding that you have to just be patient with yourself and give yourself grace for it. If you know it, just continue to go for it, you know, when it lights you up, like when, because you're going to do it anyways, because you didn't get this far just to sit there and not follow that passion, not follow your soul. Like your soul is on fire, your soul is ready to rip. You know what I mean? Because it's just that the physical hasn't caught up to it yet, right? And then maybe there's still some things that need to be revealed to you in this process. Like you just have to enjoy the purpose, because if you knew it, right? If I knew where I was going, I don't know what I would do. Like, would I do the actual work that it takes to get there? I don't know. Probably not, because it's like, oh, well, I know where I'm going, so I can just, my bad, y'all. But the fun part of it is that you get to just allow it to unfold and surprise you, you know? And like I'm gonna be honest, when I melt back into the mundane, it'll be a random day and something small will happen and I'll be like, that is my intuition will tell me, like, especially in my work life, my intuition will tell me, like, this is what's about to happen. Like, you're about to be, this is what's about to happen. You're about to be elevated in this way, or you're about to be moved into another direction this way, because my work resembles my gift. And so it's been given to me in that way to understand, like, it resonates with me that way. When certain things happen, my intuition tells me pay attention to that because this is what's forthcoming for you. And so that's how I almost am looking at it like my higher self or God, the universe, the divine, however you see it, leaving me breadcrumbs, leaving me things that he knows, like, look, you're gonna, this is where you're going. And it's a knowing, because when it happens, you just know. It's just one of those things that sticks out to you if you allow yourself to grab onto it. And it's the first thing that sticks out to you. And it's just so natural. You know what I mean? And that's the beauty of relaxing back into the mundane, is like, okay, if I'm doing all this overthinking and stuff, then that means I'm trying to control the outcome of my purpose, or I'm doing a little bit too much here. So let me relax and melt back into this mundane, and then something pops up, right? Like, for example, you might see a butterfly, and then you know what butterflies represent, so you're like, okay, cool. And you might see a couple numbers pop up, and you're like, all right, cool, you know what I'm saying? Or everything is just calm and peaceful. And sometimes you don't need to have your mind all over the place. Sometimes you just have to, just relax. You are still human. You still have a body. You still have a life to maintain and all of these things. So dwelling in those higher realms all the time, it can be exhausting, and you find yourself getting behind on whole housework and all that stuff. So spending time with whoever, and kids and stuff like that. So there's just a balance to it, you know what I mean? But when you get frustrated, enjoy melting back into the mundane. When you get frustrated concerning your purpose, like, enjoy melting back into the mundane, because that's when those little things are going to pop up out of nowhere, and they're going to instantly grab you, and you're going to know, okay, that's for me. This is where this is going. Or, but it's unexpected. You can't be wanting to know and wanting to see and forcing yourself to see. You have to be in a relaxed state. You have to be not looking for it. So yeah. I'm saying this, but I'm also talking to myself about this too, because I do get frustrated about it. Because it's a knowing, and it pulls at you. And when you don't do things, sometimes you want to beat yourself up and say, look, this can't be a knowing if you're not doing anything about it. Sorry, my daughter walked in. I lost my train of thought. But that's just how this goes, though. I feel like purpose is a journey a little bit too, and it's also just being, like, it's the main thing of purpose is just being. Because when you're trying to step out of it and control it and find out how this is going to happen, you'll find yourself feeling further and further away from it, or feeling like you're doing things out of old energies that we don't want to bring back in. You know what I'm saying? Out of the survival, out of the, we don't want to do that. We want to just flow. We want it to just come to us. But we also want to have fun, and we want to be ourselves, and we don't want to be pushing too hard. Like, how nice would it be to wake up and your day goes just however it goes, and you just are doing you, and you get paid to be you, like, but this has to be something that you do regardless of whether you get paid or not. Sorry, I got children. But again, this has to be something that you'll know its purpose if you do it regardless of whether you get paid or not. Like, if it's really rooted in something that's true, it's not about likes, it's not about money, it's not about any of those things. It's about healing yourself. It's about transmuting something. It's spiritually grounded in some way, shape, or form, however that looks for you, right? And there's no, like, there's no need to be paid for it, because it's just something that frees you, right? and it's something that you enjoy doing because you know that like the way that you feel, you want to give that feeling to people. And so that's the purpose right there in it, and that's enough for you. So that's when you know, I feel like that's when you know that it's purpose. It's something that you can do whether there's a community or you know, I don't know, a crowd behind you or not. You just do this because it frees you, it makes you feel good, and you want others to feel good, or whatever your reasons are, right? But even that reason itself is spiritually grounded. Like, it's sound, it's like it's sturdy, it's you know, you can really build a solid foundation on that because it's not rooted in anything uh temporary, right? Anything physical, you know, nothing physical could determine this knowing and this pull about yourself, no matter what goes on, too. And that's the funny thing about it. No matter what goes on, even though you allow yourself to let the emotions pass when they pass, and whether it be a thunderstorm, whether it be a drizzle, whatever the feeling comes, you let it come through and you let it pass. And you know there's still this underknowing, you know, that you have a purpose, even if it's small. And sometimes you might not even feel it. And you might even doubt, and you might even, you know what I'm saying? You might even feel like you just, it's gone away from you, you know? But it's always there. You know, you're always going to keep doing it. And so the beauty about purpose, though, and this is in conclusion, the beauty about purpose is the purpose is you, and it's your being, and it's you being in your mundane. Like, when you think about that saying, how the flowers just are and the bees come, it's the fact that the flowers do need the bees to pollinate, and there's other insects, right? But they need the bees to pollinate, right? They need the bees to do that in order for them to continue to grow. I know for a fact when I was growing my cucumbers, you know, I was not seeing any growth for some reason, and it was bothering me. And it was like, okay, oh, the bees had to start coming and pollinating the flowers, and that's when they started growing more, you know. But they had to grow into the version of themselves, into the version of the plant that could receive pollination. If there's nothing there to pollinate, then, you know, there's nothing there to pollinate. You still have some growing to do. There's still some more that needs to, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. The maturity hits when it needs to hit, and then the pollination just naturally comes. But this is the thing, this is the consistent thing about the flower, is that the flower just is. It just grows, and it just is, and it's consistent in just being in its own mundane. And eventually the process goes through the process, and it's planted, and it grows, the roots grow in the soil and all that, knowing that it's a flower, right? And even when it sprouts outside of the soil, right, it knows it's a flower because it grew out of the flower seed. But it can't be seen by us, right? If I took a seed, a random seed, and you don't know what this seed is, and I just plant it, and we're just watching this flower together, this thing grow, I know it's a flower, but you don't, because you didn't see what kind of seed was planted. Well, even as it pushes through the soil and it's in the light, you still don't quite know yet. It still has a little bit of growing to do in the light, because the light plays a process in helping it grow. There's things that it needs from the light in order for it to continue to grow to the version of itself that can receive the pollination. But throughout that entire process, that flower is just being itself. It was planted that way. It can't be any other way. So when you think about, or when you get frustrated about your purpose, I try to remind myself of this same thing. There's nothing that you're not going to do. That you're planted, you were created as you were, and you're going to sprout in due time. You know, you're going to see what your purpose is in due time. You're going to eventually, you know it, right? You know this thing. But you're like this other person that doesn't quite know, yet, until you see the type of flower you are. You know that you're a rose, right? You know that you're a red rose, though. You know what I'm saying? And so you can't wait until you are able to see yourself sprouted and sitting there, and after you've been pollinated, and it's a beautiful thing. But it's just, you're gonna get there. You're gonna see the purpose. You're gonna see the full picture. You just have to allow yourself to grow into that, right? Into that version of yourself that can receive that. And that's by just being, right? And that's by just consistently being, allowing whatever processes to take place in between that, sticking to your knowing, but giving yourself the grace to know, okay, look, I'm tired today, or this week is just, I just didn't, and that's fine. You just be, because being you is just being you. I don't know. There's nothing, you're just you, when it needs to kick into gear, it'll kick into gear. Like, they're just enjoy being in the mundane, find that purpose in the mundane, like know that there's abundance everywhere that you look. Think about positive things, allow the emotions to pass. Just be that flower. Like, it'll come, but allow yourself to be frustrated too. That's a good sign too when you think about it. That means, like, you could be frustrated about a lot of other things that really don't matter, but the fact that you're frustrated about your purpose and how you're going to help, and that's a beautiful thing within itself. So then you're able to calm yourself down from being frustrated about a purpose. So know your purpose, feel your purpose, and you're going to see your purpose. You do see your purpose in just being in the mundane, in your mundane. So until next time, y'all.